Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin A. Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is the founder and head teacher of Guijian Philo-Cultural Society. He has extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. This program is dedicated to exploring various facets of these teachings with hopes of making the knowledge more widely accessible. Thank you for joining us. All right, so today, Lin, we're going to talk about diet and cultivation. Just wondering if we could start off maybe with the differences between a vegetarian and a meat-based diet.
Okay. Great. So diet and cultivation, a very big, very big topic in the realm of cultivators. There's always some type of infighting between if one should be vegetarian, if it's okay to eat meat. Some just eat fruit. Basically, you can take the idea of vegetarianism and utilize it. You can take the idea of eating meat and utilize it. Any type of diet that makes the individual's body somewhat healthy is okay. I mean, it's okay for specific levels of practice. But as you get higher, you have to up the charge of the body. You have to make it a little bit stronger. Doesn't mean you need to eat meat for it. I mean, certain practices require vegetarian diet. That means, no fish. Some people call themselves vegetarian. They eat fish. Some people eat eggs. When I was vegetarian for a few years, I had eggs also. I stood away from fish and whatnot. But basically, you should really refrain from all types of products coming from animals for certain practices. Those practices have a function, and that function requires the right vessel. Kind of like the car. If you put the wrong fuel in the car, it'll run a little funky. If you put ordinary car fuel, in a truck, there would be problems. I really don't know what kind of problems, but I know it wouldn't run well. I don't drive a truck, never did, so I'm not too sure. But I know that the right fuel is needed for the right machines. So just like our body, if we're looking for a higher function, then we're going to need to put specific things in there so our body can hold the function, basically hold that charge of the function.
So would you say that meat is more of a yang type energy and vegetables are more of a yin type energy, or is that a sort of a misconception?
It's reversed. The meat is more of a yin and the vegetables are more of a yang. Why is that? Meat is dead. I mean, if you eat an animal alive while it's still alive, it's still not going to give you the yang energy. So someone wants to say, well, if I eat raw meat, like right off the animal, right there, is that yang still? Because it still has energy in it. No, it's not, because the body of that meat, that meat itself, does not have the function to sustain itself when the body itself is dead. An animal, a plant, on the other hand, I mean, though you take it out of the ground and you chop it up and, it still has a high energetic charge to it. That's why you can leave it on your countertop for, a day or 2, 3 days, and it still wouldn't smell funky. It would still be fine, and it'll still give you nourishment energetically. It's just the way it is, the way the body of that plant is. If we're going to go into the Western scientific view of the cell structure and all that stuff, we're going to be here for a while. And that's really one aspect of the whole. What I'm talking about is the other aspect of the whole, which is the energetic aspect and how that affects the body, our body. So when we eat vegetables, it charges up our body. And people think if you eat vegetables, your muscles will be weak, you'll be skinny, pale, you'll be sick, you won't have enough strength or whatnot. On the contrary, a vegetarian diet is not just eating leaves and nuts and berries, okay? It's a whole, nowadays it's a whole science how to eat vegetarian. It means you're eating the vegetables that have the nutrients that we now understand through modern science, which are needed for the body. In the old days, it was, let me just pull the plants out of the ground, chop them up, steam them, fry them, whatever I do with them, or eat them raw, and just take them. But why is that different nowadays? Well, because our soil is not filled with enough nutrients. We have pesticides. We have other types of chemicals that go into our soil and even in our groundwater. These things aren't rich in nutrients as they were even 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 30 years ago. So if you're going to eat a vegetarian diet in our quote-unquote modern times, you really need to be very, very mindful of what you're eating. Make sure that the source you're getting it from was indeed wholesome.
Do you think
no GMOs, because those things will hurt you.
Do you think that we've gone overboard in the West? It seems like some of these diets you read about, people almost are obsessed with different formulas and different supplements. Sometimes it seems like we go overboard. I was just wondering if you could compare that to how it's viewed in the East.
Well, basically, in the East, so far where I've been in China, vitamins are a new thing. And it's not even a lifestyle for the Chinese to eat vitamins. Because before, they had all the nutrients they needed because their soil was fine. All the vitamins, nutrients, minerals, whatnot are in their soil, so it's in their food. So animals in there too. The animals were eating, the grains and whatnot that were coming from this nutrient-rich soil. So they were gaining all the vegetables, all their minerals, all their vitamins and whatnot, right in their own backyard, basically. And if it's just specifically on a vegetarian diet, they were getting it because their soil was rich in nutrients. And nowadays, as in the West, we got vitamins and supplements and whatnot. We have those because our vegetables aren't rich enough in these nutrients. So if one's going to just eat vitamins but not keep a diet, a proper diet of food intake, basically, the vegetables really, the vitamins aren't really going to give a great outcome to you. You're not going to get a great benefit, but you're going to have some benefit. It's still a nutrient. It's still something the body can absorb, but you gotta add to it. You can't just wake up in the morning, pop a few thousand milligrams of vitamin C and go on your day. You have to eat, and you have to eat well. If you eat vitamin C and then you have a cup of coffee, you're canceling out a great portion of the function of that vitamin C. So you really got to watch how we eat and watch how we combine the things we take in during the day if we're taking supplements. But yes, there is a kind of an overboard situation in the West about health and diet and the main culprit is capitalism, commercialism, making money. It's a fad now. People, find they can make money off of others because others want to be healthy. And what happens? You get millions of different types of companies selling the same product, just changing the product here and there a little bit just to see theirs is better or different. And charging people exorbitant amounts of money for these health products, and it just becomes a fad. And if you're not following this person or following this company or whatnot, then you're seen as not having the right stuff or the good stuff. So we kind of lose sight of what goes on when it comes to our food and vitamins and whatnot.
So in terms of vegetarian versus a meat diet, I find that when I eat meat, it tends to have sort of a denser feeling, like you feel almost more lethargic compared to, say, I've tried both. And on a vegetarian diet, you feel almost a little more of an energetic buzz. Why would that be?
Well, basically, meat is heavy. Just the body itself is physically heavy, but there's no energy in it. So there's nothing adding to your digestive system. There's nothing adding to your body to help it digest. The vegetables, on the other hand, have a charge, an energetic charge. So when you eat the vegetable, it boosts the digestive system. It boosts the stomach chi, the stomach energy, and it doesn't make you feel lethargic after, unless you're eating a hell of a lot of it and you overstuff yourself, and you feel a little tired because your body has to work a little bit overboard now, a little bit more. But generally, the meat has not a very high energetic charge, very little, if not anything. And when we eat it, our body has to use its own resources to break it down. And it doesn't get anything in return. There's no exchange of that. So we're just getting a dense cellular-like structure for the benefit of our body. So it wastes our energy. What I mean by that is we don't have anything helping us to break down the meat except our own body's enzymes and whatnot. So the energy that our body wastes in digesting meat just kind of, what's the word, slows us down. People may feel the meat has proteins. Well, so do vegetables. People may feel you get stronger and more healthy and more nutrients in the meat than you do in vegetables. It's wrong. Sorry, it's not true. There's already extensive research on vegetarian diet and how it is much better for the body. Scientific research may not be accepted by Western science communities and whatnot, only because if it is, the meat producing corporations out there would lose a lot of money. Basically, when we eat meat, we waste our energy. The meat stays in our body for 2 days, 3 days, and then when it comes out, it's putrid. We can grow maggots in there, parasites because of the meat, no matter how good and clean the meat is.
It doesn't exactly make me want to get a steak, Lynn.
Let's go out and get some burgers, Let's see who lets it out first,
I've heard people say before that if you're over energetic or if your energy's too heady, they've recommended eating meat to ground you. Would you agree with that?
That's not grounding, that's draining. When someone is grounded, they're not going to feel heavy. When someone is grounded, they will feel I'm trying to find the English equivalent to this word in Chinese. Because they will end up feeling stable, not buzzed, not like they're going to fall off the ground or go floating in the air, not like they're going to be talking too fast or whatnot. They're going to feel stable. And that's different from feeling drained. Feeling drained is you start to feel like your energy is lower. Things move slower for you. Okay? When you're not grounded, when you are stable, there is no influence of this kind of chemical change in the body, emotional chemical change in the body. So you're not going to feel exhausted. You're not going to feel slightly slowed down. You're going to just feel whatever it is to be normal for you, without any, speaking too fast, doing things too fast or whatnot. So the grounding by eating meat is actually just a draining. It's not a grounding. Grounding is a stable feeling. It's not a heavy feeling.
I notice when I practice heavily, when I do a lot of meditation, a lot of qigong, my body actually seems to tell me that it prefers vegetables. You crave vegetables, and when you eat meat, a lot of times I'll just feel terrible.
Oh, I couldn't get the last part. It broke up a little bit.
Sorry, I was just saying, when I do eat meat, when I'm in that state, I tend to feel awful.
Well, meat is when it gets in the body, because it's there's no charge to it really. There's a quality of the meat that can be cooling, can be heating. Okay, so usually, let's say if you're eating a red meat, the quality of the meat itself is heating. That's why it's not very good for your liver. That's why it's not very good for your heart. So eating red meat, can cause a lot of problems because of the quality of the meat is heating. It can cause a lot of heating diseases or heating problems in the body, conditions in the body. Sheep is also, I think the word is venison. No, that's deer. I don't remember really
Lamb.
Which one. Lamb. There you go. I'm forgetting my English. I'm living in China so much now. When you're eating lamb, that's also a heating quality, and that can cause the liver qi to rise up very quickly. Chicken, that meat is they call it a white meat, but it is a little heating, has a little cooling effect, but it's more heating. If you look at the quality of the animal, they're very neurotic almost. You know, um, what else? Pork, they're very lethargic, you know, stable, sitting, but they're very fast animals. Their meat is very cooling. Um, Depends on how you cook it, though. So all these foods, all these meats or animals have a specific quality of their physical body. How you prepare their meat will give you, you know, a combination effect of how that meat affects your body, how that meat influences your body. Vegetables, on the other hand, they are very specific. You have vegetables that are heating, cooling, bitter, dispersing energies. Okay, they in combination will cause the body to have uh, various different effects. Anyway, so it's really important to see what we're eating, basically.
Why do some sects, I know some Taoist sects do eat meat and others only eat vegetables? Why do these sects advise eating meat? I know I've heard it argued that if you look at our teeth, we do have canine teeth and that we've evolved to eat meat. Would you have any response to that?
Well, basically, I would like to know what it is that tells us we have what we consider canines that say we're supposed to be eating meat. Just because our teeth look like that of a dog, look sharp and long, and we figure it's to rip apart something much more tougher than vegetables. Well, there's some vegetables that are hard to chew, hard to rip apart too. Who says
Hmm.
that our teeth aren't meant for those things either? You know, our intestines in science, I can't really bring up the research because I don't remember where I've put this document or like I say article um, written by some scientists or whatnot, but I can't really quote it directly. But all I will say is there's some science testing or whatnot states that our intestines were not for digesting meat. Originally, they are for digesting vegetables, not meat.
Yeah, well, if we evolved from monkeys, as they say, then that would make sense, right?
If you believe that, if you
I'm not
believe we
saying I'm
evolved from
not saying I
monkeys.
do. However, if people want to take the scientific route and say, we have these teeth and look at monkeys, right? Generally, they don't eat meat.
Okay, well, right. Monkeys don't eat meat. Um, so if we evolve from monkeys, why don't we just take them as an example at this point? And just saying, well, if we did evolve from monkeys indeed, and they're not eating meat, what made us believe we have to eat meat? If it's just because we couldn't um, grow our vegetables, maybe we didn't have the means to do so, and we were really starving back in the day, and we just killed whatever walked past us and ate it for nourishment. Well, we don't have to do that now. So really, it's just a habit, and we believe or we've been told that this is the right way. Maybe
Hmm.
it's not the right way. It's just a matter of habit, and this habit has been with us for so long. We assume it's right. Kind of brings me up to the idea of brings up the idea of people saying sexual behavior is normal. Sexual feelings and actions and whatnot is totally normal because we're human and that's just the way our human nature is. Who said that? I mean, what is that? Where did they get that from? Maybe because they don't know the origin of our sexual desires. If people knew the origin of their sexual desires, they may find something totally different. You know, so
Yeah,
it goes again with our meat eating situation. You know.
yeah. A lot of this stuff is, as you said, pushed on us by capitalism and you know,
Hey,
various
I
lobby
I give you
groups.
an example here. Exactly. I mean, here in China, we have milk. People never really didn't drink milk heavily, and they still don't now. But there's a lot of belief now over the last several years that milk is extremely good for you, and they give babies milk. I mean, we do that in the West still. But what people are failing to realize is that milk causes congestion in the body, and it raises the sugar levels in the body. And if it causes congestion, that means it's causing phlegm, and phlegm blocks your qi. Okay, and it makes it difficult for things to exchange in the body energetically, if we're talking in terms of Chinese medicine or just energetic cultivation. So kids are coming along with lung congestion left and right, and of course they drink baby formula, which has milk product in there or whatnot. They're milk in the stores or whatnot. So, when I get people say, "Oh, my son has congestion or my child has congestion," I took him to the doctor to get medicine. I said, just stop giving him milk. Wait a week and his congestion will start to go away. 2 weeks and it should be fine. But then when you have congestion, whatever food we're eating, not just milk, if we're taking whatever we're taking and we end up with congestion, our diet, our body lets us know. And our congestion is an allergic reaction. Or it's just saying, maybe not an allergic reaction, just saying, this doesn't belong in here. And if you just stop taking it, you'll get better.
What about yogurt as opposed to milk?
Yogurt is still a milk byproduct. For me personally, lactose intolerant. So if I have a yogurt, I still get bloated feelings and whatnot. The yogurt is a heating because it's a product of milk. Milk is also heating quality. Though it has good bacteria, the yogurt has good bacteria that your intestines can benefit from, which is a good thing. The dairy aspect of it can wreak havoc on your spleen, stomach, and intestines.
It's interesting you say that yogurt and dairy product is heating because I always would have thought it was cooling. You think of yogurt and you think of ice cream and you think of products like that. It seems to have a cooling effect. But I guess then again, it's because you're eating it while it's cold too, right?
Well, look, you have ice cream. Ice cream is a dairy product, right? So when you eat the ice cream, it's cold. It's cooling. It's the first thing. It freezes your stomach. You get brain freeze, But what happens? It stunts the digestive system. The stomach energies need warmth to function properly. So you stunt that, and what happens? It gets cold in there. The spleen develops phlegm because it can't function right. It doesn't know what to do with that cold energy, which is like familiar to it. It makes it familiar as though it's a cold disease or a cold invasion. And because of that cold, phlegm is created. And then how is it going to digest phlegm? It doesn't digest phlegm. It gets stored in the body. So that causes digestive problems. But the heating quality is that the milk itself, from where it comes from, has that heating quality. And then it will cause these heating things in the body, heating problems in the body. I mean, the coldness from the ice cream will cause cold problems, but then the heating aspect of that product is going to cause the heating problems in the body.
What about just general water, drinking cold water? I know I've heard it said before that you shouldn't drink water that's too cold. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, people think cold water is going to quench their thirst when it's really, really hot out. It's okay. I mean, when it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees, and you're feeling really warm, maybe extremely warm, and you just want that cold thing to basically cool you off. I do too. Have a cold glass of water, or chew on ice cubes in the summer because it's extremely hot. The temperature inside, and the temperature outside are extremely hot, very high. So it's not going to do damage when the temperature is at a rate where it's cool or calm, almost comfortable kind of mannerism. It's not going to do great damage at all, if anything at all. So that's okay, but not to do it excessively because then it becomes excessive cooling in the body. So very cold water is not very beneficial. Generally, you have to wait for the conditions for it. But cold water itself doesn't quench your thirst. It just stops you from feeling thirsty because it stops the stomach chi from functioning. So we feel like we don't need to have any more. But if you took room temperature water, you would find yourself drinking a lot more. That's the difference. There's a superficial satisfaction, then there's the profound satisfaction, which means you will go a longer time without needing to drink because you already taken all that your body needs for that time period. But when you drink cold water, you stunt the stomach chi. It makes you believe, it makes you feel like you're not thirsty anymore. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're not hungry anymore.
So what about people that drink 7-8 liters of water a day? I would think that'd be kind of hard on the kidneys.
Yeah, when the kidneys have to filter so much, it means they have to work so much. And if it's affecting the kidneys that way, well, the kidneys and heart have a direct relation. So when the kidneys start to get exhausted, the heart, starts to get exhausted. So it's going to affect the heart over time. The heart pumps its blood, and then we know the functions of that aspect, and then the kidney, filters everything out. So when the kidneys have to overwork from the person drinking so much water, it's going to cause deficiency eventually, or excessive problems or deficiency problems. Depends on the person's situation, but um, too much of anything is not going to be good. Even though water is good for you, you overfill yourself with water is not going to be very beneficial.
Okay, how about spicy foods, garlic, ginger, that type of thing?
Well, some practices. We got to get back to your question too, and why Taoists, some eat meat, some don't. But in this aspect here, some cultivation practices tell you to stay away from certain flavors. Well, generally, foods like spicy foods, hot and spicy foods, that's gonna influence your liver. It's gonna influence the heart, the stomach, spleen. Basically, look at your whole digestive system and everything down there, including the lungs. It's going to influence that. It's going to cause too much heat in the body. In moderation is okay. Some people cannot eat unless it's spicy. They must have hot and spicy food. That's really that can cause a lot of stagnation problems in the body. Certain foods, certain things like ginger and stuff is good. Ginger can disperse cold. It's a heating, but if it's mixed with, I think, like a brown sugar, you put brown sugar and ginger together, boil it up. It's a good stomach nourisher. Nourishes good stomach chi and nourishes the blood. Helps to disperse the helps to disperse cold in the body.
So if you,
So
sorry,
go ahead, go ahead, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, if you had an imbalance, could you use, say, garlic or spicy food to counteract
Depends
that
depends
imbalance?
on depends on the quality of the imbalance. I mean, how the imbalance is affecting the body. Then you would have to see individually which is going to be a better application of food. Um, for example, if I am starting to have like migraines, I'm not going to take garlic because that's going to induce the migraine. It's going to make it worse because it's a heating, but it's erratic for the liver, cause the liver chi to move. And the liver chi goes up. The liver chi can rise, and without anything stabilizing liver chi, it's going to cause that energy to rise, and it's going to hurt the head even more. So you got to look at the quality. Um, a very basic application of, let's say, ginger and brown sugar I mentioned before, is perfect for the winter time when people are starting to sneeze, starting to get little minor headaches, a little phlegm, stomach disruption, stomach problems or whatnot. Right at the beginning of when starting to feel a little bit ill, drink some ginger and brown sugar. Wait about a half hour and then go to sleep. It's not going to work instantly, but it will make you feel a little bit better the next morning. Most likely, you will not have the problems. Most people, I've seen when I was living in New York, get sick. 3 days, 4 days later, they end up with flu-like symptoms, and they're coughing and sneezing all around me, and I don't have any problems until a few days later. I can tell a slight little dizziness in the head. I know what's coming. I just have some of the ginger brown sugar. 2 days, 3 days of it, and it is no big deal, no problem, no sickness. So we can eradicate a lot of problems with just basic stuff right in the beginning. You know.
How about salty food? Is that negative or positive? I've heard it said that in the East they don't consider salt as bad as an element as you do in the West for your diet.
Well, what happens here in the East is that in the old days, I mean, now we're hitting more modern times throughout all Eastern countries. So very modern. I mean, where the agriculture is modern, lifestyles are modern, what we consider modern in the West. But in the old days, for here, you can say 40 years ago, 50 years ago, people exercised. They did work in the fields. They were very physical. So whatever they're taking in their body, it gets flushed out. They're very healthy. Maybe they were still drinking heavily or smoking heavily, but they were exercising all the time, and they lived up to like 90 years old, 80 years old, still doing physical work till the day they die, literally till like they can't get out of bed anymore. And then 3 days they go. So it's a different lifestyle because people have a lot of movement out here. In the West, we have a more sedentary lifestyle. We sit at a desk, we don't do much exercise. We have to do 8 hours a day at work, and then we go to a gym for an hour and a half. Like an hour and a half is going to make up for the 8 hours we sit at our desk, or we staying in a room and not doing much physical exercise. I mean, getting out of the desk and walking to the bathroom or to the company kitchen to get a cup of coffee or something is not exercise. you know, if you work on the 20th floor and you take the elevator every day, one day you decide, well, I'm going to walk up 20 flights of steps, to get to my office. There you go. That's some exercise right there. And then you walk down when you're ready to finish work. I mean, well, there you go. That makes up. That can make up for 8 hours of sitting there doing nothing. I mean, with your butt. You're just sitting there all day and doing that. Now, as a cultivator, someone's practicing, whether it's qigong, and qigong is just a term used in general term used to include a lot of energetic practices, meaning meditation even. If people think meditation is not qigong, well, you're wrong. Okay, meditation is the practice of controlling your breath, which is qigong. Qi, breath, gong, skill. So it's the skill of breathing. Meditation, if you're not breathing right, you're not doing anything. If you just sit there breathing erratically, you're going to pass out. And if you sit there breathing too slow, you're going to pass out. You have to find the right balance of how much you actually need. So when you're doing any of these practices, you need to make sure you're taking in the right nutrients.
What about, sorry, I know I'm dancing around the clock here, but what about MSG? A lot of times after I eat MSG, I mean, I just feel like complete garbage, and I'm parched, and I got to drink like 10 glasses of water to flush it out of my system. But I know in China and a lot of the Asian countries, they cook heavily with MSG.
They're used to it over years and years, and I don't know how many years they've been cooking in China. It could be thousands of years. I'm making a joke. They're used to it. Their digestive system has grown to it, but they still get problems based on that type of thing. Monosodium glutamate causes stomach cancer. Maybe it's not scientifically proven or accepted by Western science, but those who've looked into holistic living, those who've researched and done scientific studies, have found that MSG causes stomach problems. And I will be the first person to raise my hand and go, yes, it does, because I've experienced it that way. When I've come out here in China, they cook with MSG. I always wondered, why do I feel so groggy, thirsty, tired, painful in my abdomen? It's like cramps and dullness, and then I'm wondering, what am I eating? How is what I'm eating causing this problem? I'm not eating garbage foods or whatnot, junk foods or whatnot. And then I just ask, what are you adding? What kind of flavors you're adding? And there you go. MSG was one of them. And I just sit there, okay, don't add MSG next time. I want to see what happens. No problems. So we see, I'll use myself as an example. I've eaten that. I changed the way the food was made, and then nothing terrible happened. Then when I added MSG back, I felt the same problems again. But out here, people are used to it. So many people do ingest the MSG. They end up with high blood pressure. They end up with feeling fatigue, headaches, erratic emotional behavior like aggression and whatnot. So these things are problems. In the West, we're not used to MSG. So when we take it, it's like a big problem for us.
Kind of dancing around the 5 elements theory of diet here, which I think is salty, spicy, sour, bitter, and I can't remember the last one. And I think we may have already hit it. Coffee, however, I believe is on the bitter scale. And you mentioned coffee earlier in a negative sense. Could you talk a little bit more about why coffee's bad?
Coffee is a false yang, meaning like vitamins are a false yang. They're healthy for you, and vitamins do have a good um, benefit to the body as long as you're meeting it with good diet. But it's a false yang because it's coming out of the plant. It's coming out of something processed to a degree, just to a degree, and it's taken as a food. And what happens is, if you're just taking a vitamin, it can make the stomach cold. Um, you'll still get good health benefits, but you have to make sure you're eating properly, so your body can absorb those type of nutrients in that way. So if you're eating well and you're taking vitamins, kudos. But if you just take vitamins and you're eating whatever you want, you're not getting any good benefit. Coffee is a false yang. It causes you to have a rush of energy. Basically, it's you can't just say it's the caffeine, but yes, it's the caffeine. When you take the caffeine out and you have the decaf, well, then you're chemically taking out the caffeine and you're causing other health problems. So the coffee is heating in the body, and it causes the stomach chi to heat, stomach to feel hot. It causes the what's the word? Let's put it this way. Think of yang as fire and yin as water. So when you're adding more fire, more yang qi into the body, something more heating, you're going to evaporate the water. You're going to heat up the body, and all that yin energy starts to heat up. And it wants to escape. It changes to yang. So you have a yin deficiency. It causes so much heat where that your heart palpitates, causes heat in the heart. Liver chi gets erratic. You start to feel like your eyes are very wide open. You feel like a tiger. Tiger has eyes wide open. And you have to get things done. You must get up and go. That's the feeling you have because the energy of the liver is like a general. Once it has its command, it's ready to go forth, and nothing can stop it. So the coffee offsets your energy. I'll admit I like to drink a nice, wholesome cup of coffee once in a while, but I have a lot of food with it.
I ask this as I'm drinking my cup of coffee.
Ha 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 ha. So I purposely have to eat food before I would have a cup of coffee. So the coffee mixed in with the food gets digested, and it doesn't have that kind of erratic effect on me. So it doesn't cause excessive heating in the body. And people will say, well, teas also have caffeine, and the caffeine in the tea is no good for you. Unfortunately, that's wrong. Because the tea is itself complete with the way of its chemical processes, the caffeine is canceled by other things. So yeah, you'll feel that upright and all like jittery and all up and ready to go with tea, but it's not going to do the effects as the coffee will. I've tried. Maybe I'm just different, I guess. I didn't have the same effects as when I drank tea as I did when I would have coffee. Some people say, well, I can't have caffeine, so it can't give me that tea, and it just makes me laugh. Well, okay, then don't have sugar in anything that you eat or anything that you drink.
That's the last element in the 5 elements, sugar. That's it. Sweet, sorry.
Sweets.
So,
Sweets
yeah.
were going to cause, it's also heating, so it's going to cause the heart to race. It's going to cause the stomach to not digest well. It's going to cause the spleen to create phlegm. Don't have sugar. If you're not good with caffeine, then don't have sugar. That cup of that can of Coca-Cola is going to have 13 teaspoons of sugar in it. Enjoy. And that diet Coke or diet sodas or whatever sodas out there, there's still sugar in them. So really research what it is that we're drinking. I mean, I admit too, I like to have a cup of soda once in a while too, but it doesn't mean that I must have this every day, or there's an addiction, or I won't function without it.
I find a lot of our diets just is habit. I've cut out soda years ago, and to be honest with you, I really don't crave it. I don't miss it at all. And if I ever do have it, it basically just tastes like I had a mouthful of sugar.
Yeah, basically.
So I guess maybe the key to fixing some of these situations is just to be mindful, or just if you think about what you're eating, a lot of times we don't even think, we just shove stuff in our mouth, we barely even chew it and barely even taste it. if we kind of eat mindfully, maybe that would go a long way towards keeping us healthy.
Well, check this out. Listen to this. In Hong Kong, now the cigarettes in most Eastern countries have pictures of like lung disease or messed up teeth. It's telling you you're buying this pack of cigarettes, and on the pack of cigarettes is a face of someone who has cancer, or like it shows like smoking is harmful to the family. It shows a boy covering his face and the mother covering her face and the father enjoying a cigarette in the background. So now you're like looking at it going, oh, I'm doing that, aren't I? Second thoughts now. If we put a face on every piece of meat that's sold in the market, we put the animal's face on there, or show what the animal looks like before it's after it's cut up, before it's processed, I doubt people would have the stomach to actually eat it. Probably they will, but who knows?
I forgot to tell you this episode was sponsored by the U.S. meat industry.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you just now.
I was just saying this episode was actually sponsored by the United States meat industry.
Oh.
It was a joke. Never mind.
Oh. Sorry, it got broke up, so I couldn't hear. You got to remember, guys, I'm in China, and Oolong's in Canada, and this is being recorded on the western side from my side. So our connections may not be so well. Patience, please, patience. To go back to what you said before about why some Taoist sects eat only vegetarian and some eat meat. Well, this is a very good question, and people seem to follow the politics. They want to argue the idea. Well, the Zhengyi, I don't know how to say it in English, but the Zhengyi Pai of Taoism, and the Chuanzheng Pai, the complete reality sect of Taoism. Okay, well, the Zhengyi Pai doesn't allows you to eat meat, but the Chuanzheng Pai doesn't. And they argue, well, the Zhengyi Pai is much better, because it's more freer, there's not many rules. Well, who said that? Really, investigate. Are there any rules in these Taoist sects? Yes, there are. Okay. I haven't indulged in reading too much of the Zhengyi sect, so I cannot comment specifically on their practices exactly. I can't. The Chuanzheng Pai, the Chuanzheng sect, the complete reality one of my my teachers is a Taoist nun of the Chuanzheng Pai, the Huashan sect. So she tells me, if you are a layperson cultivating the Tao, don't worry. You can choose not to eat meat, but you'll still be welcomed into heaven. But if you're a left home person, then it's forbidden. And why? Well, because you are a left home person. You are putting all your time to cultivating the way as a left home person. So there's standards for you as a left home person to meet. Now, we can look at the moral standards, moral conduct, ethics, and precepts that you take. But there's a reason for those precepts, because as a cultivator, you want to reach, well, not as an egotistical wanting, but your goal, the whole point of you leaving the home life and cultivating, is so you can attain the state of immortality. How are you going to do that holding on to a piece of chicken? You're not. You need a free, fresh body, energy very vibrant, nothing holding you down, nothing weighing you down. You need high vibration to hold in high amounts of energy. You're not going to do that eating meat. That's why.
Well, I've heard it said that the Quanchen sect is vegetarian for the simple fact that they're more of a monastic tradition. But that begs the question of, why would a monastic tradition prefer vegetarian again, right? Doesn't really answer the question, I guess.
Well, look, when you have people arguing over what tradition is better or what tradition is right, they're wasting their time. They're arguing what intellectuals argued, because you're not going to go out there having a monk or turn around and telling everyone, look, shut up, this is the deal, And even if one has people aren't going to listen anyway. They still want to believe what they believe. You know, oh, well, you're a monk because you have those rules to follow, so of course you're going to say that this is the better way. So still, it's just putting a head on top of a head. If a person wants to go on the superficial route, I'll speak on the superficial route. If a person wants to just go with what they feel is best, then fine. Eventually, they're going to come to a crossroads, and they're going to have to make up their mind, and they're going to have conflict with that. Okay? But just like when I had conflict back 2005, when I met my Buddhist teacher, and how I meet my Buddhist teacher, how I met him, it's a very unusual way. So I'm not going to talk about the manner I met him in yet, at least not on this show, not today. But I was like, hey, I've cultivated this Taoist practices since I'm 8 years old, or at least what has been known as Taoist practices. And then my Taoist teacher that I met a year before, she told me all my practices are what she would have taught me anyway. So she's just going to generally observe what I do and, throw me clues here and there if I need it or whatever. She was very nice with that. I said, now, I have this Buddhist teachings and it makes so much sense to me, but what do I do with everything else? And then I have dreams of being pulled by Taoist monks and Buddhist monks, and in my dream you get the Earth Store Bodhisattva turns around and says, hey, come over here. What do you see in this room? I say, I see Taoist monks and Buddhist monks arguing about where I should be. And he goes, no, it's not them arguing where you should be. It's you confused of where you should be. What is the difference between those two? I said, well, they're all cultivating. Right. That's what he says. Right. They're all cultivators. So why are you confused about which way is right? They're all cultivators. There's no such thing as this such label of a Buddhism and Taoism. Just look at the cultivation and practice. And it just totally freed me. That when I woke up in that dream, I was like, wow, that's great. And I told my Taoist teacher, and she laughed. She smiled. She says, I read the Shurangama mantra and sutra. I even read the Amitabha Sutra. And when I do the ceremony to have spirits be reborn in the Pure Land, I do it the Amitabha's method mixed in with the Taoist method because they're going to the same place. Isn't that funny? And I just started laughing. I said, wow, that's great. So when we were struggling with who's right in vegetarianism and who's wrong, it's really just an intellectual argument. There's nothing really important there. You got to look at the function, the true function. And you cannot sit thinking about moral precepts, ethics, conduct. You got to look at exactly what it is we're talking about here. If you're going to get anywhere in cultivation, you need to cultivate compassion, regardless if you're Buddhist, Taoist, Islam, Jewish, Christian, whatnot. You need compassion. You need humane behavior. And if you're eating meat, preaching compassion, well, you're only halfway there. You still got to cut out the meat to be realized in what you're doing.
This is sort of out there in left field, but I know, when you eat food, you're absorbing energy. And there are other practices such as, Qigong for one, and some people do sun gazing to absorb energy directly from the sun. I know this isn't totally related to our topic, but I'm just wondering, would they be high-level cultivators that are doing this?
If one is going to take energy totally from the sun, you got to realize how many people are on this planet and how many living beings, like animals, plants, and humans, need the sun for energy. We're all taking in energy from the sun, but these Qigong practitioners apply a mindfulness to it. So they're able to take a more yang qi. If the body is full with yang qi, you don't get hungry. You don't get tired. So if you're maintaining this type of practice and then eating meat, you're really just defeating the purpose. You're taking in high energy and then having a big burger, or a big piece of steak and just draining what you got.
Have you heard of anyone that's able to subsist on a diet of just, say, sunlight, or not a diet, but absorbing energy from the sunlight without eating? I've heard of Indian gurus that were supposedly able to do this.
I heard of some who can do that. I haven't seen them. I heard stories of them. Personally, I know people who can, but I haven't question them too much on it. Um, but it is very possible. You just need a lot of practice. You can't just pick up a book. One cannot just pick up a book and read on the method and just start practicing the method and expect that they're going to get it. They may feel something. There's stages to each practice. It's not that the stages are written out for you. You have to experience. It's steps in what you experience. So as you're growing or your energy is becoming fuller and fuller, you're going to reach markers or points where there has to be something, a catalyst that thrusts you forward, or you get thrusted forward and you have to recognize these states, basically. So if someone's doing practices to try to feed off the sun, don't expect to get it right away. You may start to feel heat and start to feel full and whatnot. But if your body gets hungry, just eat. Just please eat. Don't waste don't make your body sick. That's a skill that occurs after so much practice. In the West, we want everything so fast. Everything so fast. So people think 3 years, in 3 years I'll be good to go. No, people cultivate this for 20 years, 30 years. And don't think that you're going to die at 70, 80. We can live much longer. But with thought says we're not going to live a long time, I really got to get these abilities to really soon, what for? Take care of your body. You lived 100 years old. That's great. 120, that's even better. 200, 300, 400 years old, that's wonderful too. I don't think you'll get, your Social Security insurance, or your retirement fund would last that long. But it's a pretty damn nice thing to have, that you can live a long time in the body while being healthy, well cultivated. So people don't rush. Don't rush. You're practicing, take your time, apply, and move accordingly. That's what's important.
So would you recommend, sort of in wrapping up here, would you recommend people give vegetarianism a shake, or?
I say definitely, if anyone wants to become or practice the mannerism of vegetarian living, research. Do not just think I'm going to go to the grocery store, buy some lettuce, and have a salad in the morning and the afternoon at night. No, that's not it. You need the right stuff. You need the right vegetables, the vegetables that have protein. Tofu is good. Some people are allergic to tofu. Some people feel eating tofu increases the estrogen. If it's processed tofu, I'm sure it does. Over here, everyone eats tofu and nobody's turning into a woman, so no worries on that. Basically, you need to research what the body needs and how you can eat. Because it's the modern times, and thanks to certain aspects of science, we can now realize what is beneficial for us to eat and what is not. Okay, there are places to go for that. Experts on this type of diet who are living 70 almost into their 80s that look like they're 60, full energy. They don't look like they're dead. Okay, and they're running marathons basically. I'll give a research there for people, a reference. Dr. Gary Null, GaryNull.com. You go there, very good, and you can find other outlets through that way too. So be vegetarian. You want to give it a shot. You're gonna get hungry at first, but that's really, our hunger pains are just a great portion of our habit, our mental habit. It's not really our body. Okay, our body and our mind are so intertwined. It's not even funny how intertwined our body and our mind is. Okay, it's not like, I do a practice for my body and then I do a practice for my mind. That may be your outlook, but that's not the truth. Truth is the body and the mind, they are together. Thought, emotion, physicality, all these things are meshed together. Okay, so if you're sitting in meditation, you're not only benefiting your mind, but you're benefiting your body. You're standing in Qigong practice, whatever type of Qigong practice you're doing, you're benefiting both mind, body. No, I didn't forget spirit in there either, because everyone likes to talk about the Trinity, mind, body, spirit. It's all in there. Don't separate these things. Just practice.
Well, that was very informative. Thank you for joining us again, Lynn.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for listening to Expedient Means with Lynn A. Wei on Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we investigate the subject of death and rebirth.